sequence of events for today's ceremony is contained in your official program. Ship's company, attend up. Will the guests please rise for arrival of the official party and remain standing throughout the national anthem and the invocation. Will the guests please be seated? Ship's company, parade rest. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Spadero, Commanding Officer, USS Peleliu.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome aboard Peleliu. A special welcome to Rear Admiral Pons, Rear Admiral Hitchcock, Brigadier General Malavit, former Peleliu commanding officers, fellow commanding officers, veterans, former Peleliu sailors and Marines, and most importantly, friends and family of Peleliu. Thank you for attending our decommissioning ceremony. Today we remember and celebrate the legacy of Peleliu. The legacy is not this mass of steel that we bid farewell to today. The legacy of Peleliu is in the courage demonstrated by those that fought and died on a small but strategically important island, and in the resolve of those that built and maintained this ship through the years, and in the dedication and the tenacity of the sailors and Marines that sailed her and launched operations from this very flight deck and the well deck below. The legacy lives on in the accomplishments of my crew, and as long as these sailors and Marines continue to serve and train our relief, Peleliu will live on. When I assumed command of Peleliu, I made the bold statement that this was the best crew on any ship in any Navy. Over the last 16 months, they have proven that and much more. Their accomplishments came at a great cost to them and to their families, and I am grateful for all that they have sacrificed. Along the way, we have the support of many. A vital member of our team has been our ombudsman, Mrs. Kim Myers. Kim, we thank you for everything that you have done to support the crew and our families. Please join me in a round of applause. We also thank Commodore Moore, Commodore Carroll, and Commodore Agel and their staffs for the continual support that they provided us. It was a privilege to serve under your commands. We are honored today to welcome Rear Admiral Frank Pons, Commander of Expeditionary Strike Group 3, as our presiding officer, and we are pleased to have this opportunity to thank him for everything he has done for Peleliu. We wouldn't have achieved any of our successes without his personal support to our ship, this crew, and to our families. In every conversation I've had with him, no matter the topic, at some point before the talk was over, Admiral Pons would ask the same two questions. What can I do for you, and how is the crew? Everything I asked for, he delivered. At times, even making difficult decisions with scarce resources. But he ensured we had what we needed to accomplish our mission. I knew without a doubt in all that he did that he cared deeply and sincerely for each of my sailors and Marines and their families. Admiral Pons, on behalf of the crew and myself, I thank you for your tremendous leadership and support. Our guest speaker today is no stranger to Peleliu. Rear Admiral Mark Hitchcock was the 18th Commanding Officer of Peleliu, and currently he is the Director of Fleet and Joint Training at United States Fleet Forces Command. When I first met and served under then Commander Hitchcock, he was already a highly decorated and highly capable F-14 pilot. He took command of Fighter Squadron 32 on the eve of the liberation of Iraq. He led our squadron to mission success through the opening stage of Operation Iraqi Freedom and through the entirety of major combat operations in those first few weeks of war. He returned home with every aircraft and, more importantly, every sailor. He was selected for the Aviation Nuclear Officer Program, graduated from the challenging training curriculum, and went on to serve as the Executive Officer of the aircraft carrier John C. Stennis. His most recent command was the aircraft carrier Dwight D. Eisenhower, where he served with the utmost distinction and brought that ship to a new level of combat readiness and performance in support of our nation. He has held several difficult and impressive positions ashore and has excelled at each of them. As I mentioned earlier, he is a highly decorated combat pilot, but he is an even more highly respected leader throughout the Navy and Marine Corps team. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our honored guest and speaker, Rear Admiral Mark Hitchcock.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, Speedy, and good morning, everyone. It's a true pleasure for me to be with you today, and I'm certainly very happy and smiling. I'm smiling because I'm in sunny San Diego, and we delayed the beginning of this ceremony just to get the sunny part right. I'm joined on stage by a number of other very happy and smiling people. So Admiral Pons, thank you, sir. Admiral Frank Pons is smiling because he owns 5 of these ships and 13 others, and he's the commander of Expeditionary Strike Group 3, and that's just pretty cool. So, Captain Paul Spadaro is smiling because for the last 15 months he's had the best job in the entire world, the commanding officer of USS Peleliu. And Master Chief Myers and XO Hudson are smiling because this ship looks absolutely fantastic on her last day in service. And the crew is just spectacular. So it's a terrific start to a great day. And I would like to echo Captain Spadaro's welcome to our distinguished guests. So I think first and foremost, our most distinguished guest is son Cody. So welcome. And sister and brother-in-law and niece from all the way from Maine. So we're very glad that you could join Captain Spadaro here as he sends the ship to her final mission. Brigadier General Joaquin Malavet, who's the commander of 1st Marine Expeditionary Brigade. Sir, the history of this great ship and the 1st Marine Expeditionary Brigade is long and storied, and it's just so appropriate that you took the time out to be with us today as we say farewell. I think we have 10 former commanding officers in the audience, and I'd ask you to please stand and be recognized. Captains Robert Christensen, Kenneth Ferry, Philip Govens, John Jurchak, Thomas Barnes, Larry Watson, Dennis DeBard, William Personius, and Mark Sedrin, I think, is here as well. So thank you very much for joining us today as we say farewell. By a show of hands, so I just want to get a little bit of a feel for it. By a show of hands, who here is a plank owner for this great ship? Woo! So you set this ship on a true and faithful course, and thank you for everything you did to bring her to life. How about former shipmates of USS Peleliu? Woo! Yeah! All right, that's awesome. And there are more coming in. So friends, family, supporters of Peleliu, in and out of uniform, welcome one and all. As Captain Sparrow said, my name is Mark Hitchcock. I was 18th Commanding Officer of this fine ship. And it's truly an honor for me to be here today as we celebrate the legacy and history of this great warship. And how important she's been to our nation, our Navy Marine Corps team, and most importantly, we recognize the phenomenal service of the men and women who have brought her to life and accomplished every mission over nearly 35 years. When I was getting ready to report as the commanding officer in 2008, I was very excited. As many sailors do, I wanted to learn everything I could about the ship. I wanted to know her history, her reputation, and mostly I wanted to know what her future schedule was. But one thing that I wasn't very familiar with was her namesake, Peleliu. so I started reading everything I could get my hands on. Some of the novels that stand out are E.B. Sledge's With the Old Breed, At Peleliu and Okinawa, and Goodbye Darkness, a memoir of the Pacific War by William Manchester. Both authors were Marines who landed and fought on Peleliu. When I did report to Peleliu, I had the chance to visit our Hall of Heroes. The Hall of Heroes is a passageway that connects the mess decks to the hangar bay, and it was dedicated, I think, in the late 90s, and it has eight recipients of the Medal of Honor during Peleliu. They have the citations and pictures in that hallway, along with other memorabilia like maps and rifles and swords from that battle. And while that Hall of Hero helped bring more life to the stories that I had read, they still were very two-dimensional, like a picture. And that, for me, was to change in the summer of 2009 when USS Peleliu was contacted by a veterans group that was going to hold a reunion in San Diego. And they wanted to know if the ship was interested in coordinating any activities together. And we quickly learned that these veterans had landed on Peleliu, and we were thrilled to say, yes, absolutely. As it turned out, there were 11 Marine veterans and about 40 family members in that group. And they were planning their 56th and final reunion together. And they wanted to come back to San Diego where they had started boot camp, all as a unit. They were members of the 1st Marine Division's 12th Defense Battalion, and they wanted to add a visit to the ship that was named after the Battle of Peleliu to their itinerary. When we arrived, they expected that it was just going to be a simple tour, but we literally had a red carpet rolled out for them. And we brought them to the hangar bay where we recognized their service and sacrifice before 1,000 assembled sailors and Marines. And then we paired them up with crew escorts, and we took them around the ship. And their visit to the Hall of Heroes, I think, was the most memorable stop for everyone. They pointed out where they had landed on the display maps. They told us how they expected the battle to only take 4 days to secure this tiny coral island and its associated airfield. And it defended the right flank of the Philippines. And they spoke of iconic figures like Chesty Puller, one of the most decorated Marines ever, whom they had served with, seen, and fought with on Peleliu. And they talked about the furnace-like heat that sometimes rose to 115 degrees. No shade, a blazing sun, a dusty, dry thirst that they endured for a month. They said things like it was a nasty place, and it was scary. Some pointed to the pictures of the Medal of Honor recipients and said, I knew him. One veteran spoke of how he expected to meet the enemy in the open, but they were fighting from tunnels and caves. He said that the Japanese were dug in. We had to go in after them, and they wouldn't surrender. A spouse remembered how afraid she was to answer that front door during the war, believing that every visitor was going to be the one carrying the dreaded telegram from the War Department. One Marine told me of the 30-man demolition and bomb disposal platoon that he landed with on Peleliu's D-Day. Only 2 of them walked off that island, his first lieutenant and him. Many call the Battle of Peleliu the toughest fight of the war. In the end, it would take nearly 2 months and 2 divisions to take that island, and the casualty rates were among the highest in the war. These vivid and visceral memories were palpable and real to all of us that day. They brought the stories I had read to life. And these Marines had seen and done extraordinary things on a remote Pacific island called Peleliu. Like millions of their generation, they were committed to keeping America free. And like the 8 Medal of Honor recipients in the Hall of Heroes, they were willing to give their last full measure of devotion. But for me, they came to represent grit and determination. It was fighting men like these for which this warship was named. Peleliu is a great name, a namesake to be proud of. A namesake which has inspired sailors and Marines for almost 35 years. USS Peleliu is the 5th and final ship of the Tarawa class of General Purpose Amphibious Assault Ships, or LHAs. The LHA class was built to replace the capabilities of many other ships. It had aviation facilities like the LPH, the ability to embark and transport combat troops like the LPA, the cargo capacity of the LKA, and the cargo and deck capacity of the LPD. In short, Peleliu was built to deliver a formidable combat capability, which was integrated helicopter and surface assault, operating medium, heavy, and now tilt-rotor vertical lift, as well as fixed-wing Harriers from her flight deck and various types of landing craft from her well deck, the Tarawa class fulfilled a Navy Marine Corps vision of combining vertical and sea-based envelopment into one platform, as well as fulfilling a strategic requirement to develop and deploy the most effective platform to project U.S. power overseas. Peleliu, like her sister ships, is designed to conduct prompt, sustained naval combat operations by transporting, landing, and supporting an 1,800-strong Marine battalion landing team anywhere in the world, and she has done a magnificent job fulfilling that role. Built by Ingalls Shipbuilding, USS Peleliu was commissioned in Pascagoula, Mississippi. It was there that her sponsor, Mrs. Peggy Hayward, then the current CNO's spouse, said, "Man our ship and bring her to life," on the 3rd of May, 1980. Who was there? As USS Peleliu joined the fleet, she was larger than the Essex class of aircraft carriers during World War II. Her flight deck is nearly 3 football fields long. She was designed to fit under the Brooklyn Bridge and through the Panama Canal, just barely. Her 2 boilers are the largest ever built in the U.S. and are capable of propelling this 40,000-ton vessel over 24 knots when fully loaded, and while providing enough electricity for a city of 50,000 and creating enough fresh water for the daily needs of 6,000. 10 days after her commissioning, Peleliu set sail for a new home, the port of Long Beach, California, via the Panama Canal. Before she arrived there, she made her first of many port visits right here in San Diego. But this great city became her home port later in 1994. By 1982, Peleliu was ready for her maiden deployment to the Western Pacific, where she would participate in her first Rim of the Pacific exercise and conduct the first amphibious landings on Iwo Jima since the end of World War II. This deployment found Peleliu operating in the Sea of Japan, where she rescued 62 Vietnamese refugees and received the Humanitarian Service Award. From that first deployment onward, USS Peleliu and her crew demonstrated time and again that she always achieved the mission to perfection, with style and in ways that had never been seen before. Except on rare occasions, USS Peleliu never did it alone. She always had a teammate by her side, the United States Marine Corps. USS Peleliu has always been paired with direct descendants of the 3rd Amphibious Corps and the 1st Marine Division that fought on Peleliu. On her many deployments, she's embarked the 11th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 31st, and 35th Marine Amphibious or Expeditionary Units. Peleliu's ultimate weapon system has always been her embarked Marines. This combat team is so important to Peleliu that her ship's patch incorporates the Marine colors as well as the 1st Marine Division symbol. Together, as a combat team, Peleliu and her Marines have participated in Operations Fiery Vigil, Southern Watch, Desert Storm, Stabilize, Enduring Freedom, and Iraqi Freedom. They projected U.S. combat power at the outset of Operation Enduring Freedom, when she was the first U.S. vessel to put Marines ashore in Afghanistan in November of 2001. They provided U.S. support to national and international disaster relief when she responded to the San Francisco earthquake in 1989 and cared for 300 victims. And again in 1991 when she evacuated U.S. citizens from Subic Bay following the eruption of Mount Pinatubo. And yet again when she supported the people of Pakistan from the port of Karachi during the massive floods there in 2010. They provided security operations off the coast of East Timor in 1999, stopped piracy in the Gulf of Aden in 2008, and interdicted drug smuggling in the Indian Ocean in 2004. They supported the evacuation of Mogadishu off the coast of Somalia, and off the coast of Kenya they sent Marines ashore to provide evacuation of American citizens and non-combatants from Rwanda in 1994. Off Kenya in 1994, they supported regional alliances and built partnerships by providing medical and dental support. But to my mind, the most distinguishing feature of this ship has been the nearly 60,000 dedicated sailors and Marines that served aboard her. They and their families have sacrificed and endured separation and hardship to serve their Navy and nation aboard the Iron Nickel. Earlier I spoke of the Marines who landed on Peleliu during World War II, and I said that I believed that one of their defining characteristics was their grit and determination. Like America's greatest generation, I think that every crew who served aboard Iron Nickel has the same grit and determination. I saw it when I was the captain, and I see it today when I look in the eyes of this captain and this crew. This is the way it's always been on USS Peleliu, and to me that is the enduring reputation of the Iron Nickel. Grit and determination. Because of that reputation, her motto, Pax Per Potens, or Peace Through Power, has real meaning throughout her commissioned service. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask you to join me in 3 cheers for the warship USS Peleliu and her spectacular crews, past and present. Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral Frank Pons, Commander, Expeditionary Strike Group 3.
Good morning. It is a fine naval day, wouldn't you say? I gotta tell you, what do I see when I look out in front of me? A sea of patriotism. A sea of patriotism. You know, we talk about diplomacy a lot. But the motto of this ship, peace through power. You cannot broker the peace without the threat of power. Or should I say, the promise of power. And that is what this ship and these sailors and Marines that have walked this deck for nearly 35 years represent. And I am sure that you will agree with me when I say this. This ship today, nearly 35 years later, after England delivered it to us, looks just as good as it did 35 years ago when we returned it back to the United States Navy to go into the reserve force, the active reserve, just because of how well it looks and how well it operates. Now that doesn't just happen by accident, and it doesn't just happen by mistake. It's based on the crews that have taken care of this ship, the crews that have manned this ship, operated this ship, and maintained this ship throughout the years. I could easily say that if we were given the order right today to take in all lines, to light off the boilers, fire up the engines, man the decks, get this ship underway, I guarantee you we can do that very thing. Let's go. I would normally agree with you, but I'm not in uniform for that nonetheless. I've got shipmates around me who are. You know, I went off script by presenting those awards to the crew because, you know, it reads good on paper, but it looks even better when you present them in public, and that's why I wanted to present the awards to the crew. Because it does represent a traditional legacy of honor, courage, and commitment. And that's what we stand for. This nation, more so than ever, needs a strong Navy, needs a strong Marine Corps. This nation, today, they have that very strong Navy Marine Corps team. It's manifested right here on the decks of ships like this. And I'm given the honor and the privilege of being able to command those ships and the tremendous sailors and Marines that take care of these ships. So thanks to Admiral Hitchcock for his kind words, and they were very touching. And as I look out to the previous commanding officers and the plank owners, this ship bridges the gap between the previous and the present. and that's phenomenal. You don't get a chance to experience something like this, maybe once in a lifetime, and we are all privileged to experience it today. So the Admiral was talking about the Rim of the Pacific exercise that happened in 2014. Let me give you some comments from others, not just from myself. The Australian flag officer that embarked himself on board as the Expeditionary Strike Group commander said this: "The support from both the CEO and the crew of Peleliu has been outstanding. Peleliu strikes me as one of the best run ships that I have seen. For a 34-year-old ship, she is in fantastic condition, and the crew clearly has pride in their ship." Major General Simcock, Deputy Commanding General from R4PAC, said this, and these are his words, not mine: "The team is knocking it out of the park, making the Blue-Green team a resounding success. Peleliu is one of the best ships we have ever seen." When they left for impact, they went to the FDNF, 7th Fleet CTF 76. There they worked for Task Force 76 Commander Weatherall, a good friend of mine, and he's a tough character. So he sent me some words, and when he sent them to me, I believed him, because he would not have sent them if they had not been true. And these are his words, not mine. "Frank, as Peleliu approaches the chop line in her return to home waters, I want to relay that she is truly a phenomenal ship. The crew are among the finest I had steamed with, and Speedy, that's Captain Spadero, truly one of the finest COs I have seen." And in closing, he said this: "They had a tremendously challenging deployment, but the ship and the crew, led by Captain Spadero, they were always on tap, always ready, and always performed flawlessly." Those were their words, not mine. If I had to speak those words of truth, I would say them no different. This ship, the crews that have manned this ship, they have been phenomenal. Talk about legacies. You stand today on a legacy. To you all that have gone past and present, thank you for your service. As I was standing here and watching and listening to the anthem, the gentleman in front of me, previous commanding officer, I don't know his name, but I do know this: he may have been challenged to stand through the entire thing, but he never faltered. He never sat down. He stood there, and he sustained himself through it all. And I would say that at that moment, he represented everything that is good about not only this ship, but also that's good about our Navy Marine Corps team, and by extension, what is good and great about our nation. So thank you, Captain Spadero. Thank you to the crew, past. Thank you to my good team, Team Peleliu. You all are phenomenal. Thank you all. God bless.
Thank you, Admiral Pons. Captain Spadero will now read the decommissioning order.
From Deputy Chief of Naval Operations to Commanding Officer USS Peleliu, subject decommissioning of USS Peleliu. On 31 March 2015, decommission USS Peleliu and transfer to the inactive reserve. Executive Officer, disembark the crew.
Aye, aye, sir. For the only time during 35 years of active service, ship's company disembarked Peleliu.
Aye, aye, sir. Peleliu, right, forward up, peace. All out.
Captain, the crew has disembarked.
Very well. Strike gate bells and haul down the colors.
Aye, aye, Captain. The ensign will be presented to Captain Arthur Jackson, United States Marine Corps retired, the sole remaining Medal of Honor recipient from the Battle of Peleliu. The following is a letter written from the commanding officer of Peleliu, Captain Jackson. Dear Captain Jackson, on behalf of the men and women that have maintained and sailed USS Peleliu through her 35 years of active service, I present this flag in solemn recognition of your service to our great nation. I truly appreciate the time that you spent to speak with me and pass your regrets on attending the ceremony. You were missed, but also remembered. Please know that this national incident fell on the last day that Peleliu was an active United States ship that was hauled down upon my order to decommission. This flag is representative of not only the country that you so bravely defended, but also a symbol of our appreciation for your service during World War II and the years that followed. The photograph and your Medal of Honor citation and flag were displayed with great pride in our Hall of Heroes for many years. Each and every day, Peleliu sailors and Marines and I walk to this hall and we're reminded that one person can make a difference no matter the circumstances. You are a source of light while surrounded by darkness on the island of Peleliu on September 18, 1944. And you continue to be a source of great inspiration. Our country owes you a debt of gratitude that can never be repaid but only recognized. We are hopeful that this flag will capture the profound and lasting effect you have had on all that sailed Peleliu. We wish you and your family good health and thank you again for the conspicuous gallantry you displayed at the risk of your own life, above and beyond the call of duty, and for the example that you provided for all sailors and Marines everywhere. Semper Fidelis, signed PC Spadero, Captain, United States Navy.
Aye, aye, sir. Secure the watch. Captain, the watch has been secured.